Hello friends, welcome to Folk Beats. I'm your host Aimon Fatima. Friends, the beautiful land of GB has serene mountains and more than 7 languages, which also means that there are 7 cultures associated to it. Today we'll talk about Shina language, and for that we specially invited a researcher, poet and the Secretary of Water and Power from GB, Zafar Waqar. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you.
Okay, you have researched a lot on Shina language, and I have no information about it. So I would like you to start from what is Shina and what is the culture attached to this language.
Shina hails from Indo-Aryan group of languages. Although I am not, researcher, let me clear. I coordinate on behalf of the government of Gilgit-Baltistan for promotion, research and documentation of regional languages. We have recently launched a project for establishing a regional academy for promotion and research of regional languages, and we must appreciate the efforts of current government, particularly the Chief Minister and the Chief Secretary Gilgit-Baltistan, who himself is a very scholarly person, and he is focused to preserve and promote these cultures and languages. So Shina is a very ancient language. The present Shina, whatsoever is available with us, has undergone through thousands of years of evolution. So it has roots in Indo-Aryan group of languages, borrowed words from Sanskrit, Pachacha and other languages. So
is it spoken in Indian side as well?
Yeah, according to a census carried out back in 2002 in India, they claim that there are 20,000 plus Shina speakers across the border in Indian occupied Kashmir. And Shina is spoken particularly in some pockets in Dras and Gurez area, and some of them have done quite good work, literary work as well. And Shina is also spoken in Kohistan and Chitral, few pockets in Chitral of KPK as well. And it is also claimed that some gypsy clans from Diamar have taken this language along with them to Afghanistan as well. Although the dialects being spoken in Chitral and in Afghanistan, those have undergone through a different set of
modifications,
borrowed vocabulary from their neighboring languages are quite different, but rather than they have roots in Shina.
And this language is, you're saying it's ancient, so even before the colonial times, was there a script of Shina, or the recent efforts are being made in this direction that we need to preserve this language, or we need to probably make an alphabet?
Shina is a very beautiful language, but unfortunately, quite little work has been done. Although few individuals from Gilgit-Baltistan tried to invent some symbols for the additional sounds that we have in Shina language, but consensus could not be developed. It is the present government that has introduced, the Assembly has passed a resolution for incorporation of regional languages in school system up to 5th grade. So for this purpose, the government has notified a committee of scholars, intellectuals from all over Gilgit-Baltistan, a different set of individuals for each language. For Balti, there are different intellectual scholars who have already worked on the language. For Shina, there are separate Brushaski, Waqi and Kwa. And as I said earlier, that I am coordinating on behalf of the government, and Alhamdulillah, we have done enough work, and we are hopeful that from next academic year, we will be able to introduce regional languages into syllabus of the school system.
I've heard that a lot of Korean and Japanese researchers are also working in GB to preserve languages.
Many foreigners, have done work. Britishers have done work. Some German scholars have done work. Some intellectuals from US, they have also published their researches. So, foreigners are doing, but they are not locals, they are not natives. So they cannot understand there are delicacies, you know, in language. So a native can understand those
phonetic
things.
sounds
Yeah,
that
phonetic
they're
sounds
produced.
and the meanings attached to those words. And Shīnā is a very unique type of language.
Very poetical,
very poetic,
romantic.
and when you it's a bit tonal as well. When you stress on vowels, sometimes prolong those, they convey quite a different meaning. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
So, even though you're very humble about your work towards language preservation, you yourself are a poet of Shīnā language. How
Ji,
did you
I
develop this
try.
interest in literature and poetry?
Actually, thanks to Almighty that I born to a literary family.
Your father was also
my
a
father
poet,
Abdul Khalik Taj, he's a magnificent poet, particularly in Shīnā. He used to play sitar, he used to sing in Radio Pakistan as well.
Wow.
Although he has quit singing now, but he used to take me to literary gatherings, to mushairas, to musical concerts. So in frequent interaction with intellectual scholars, that was bound to influence me, I think.
So, your style of writing, is it different from your father's style or it's similar?
Every individual has a different style, and it's the beauty of literature, you know. And the audience, with the passage of time, demands different things. And being a representative of current generation, I think that I'm bound to be different.
And which genre attracts you more? Is it ghazal or I don't know what are the genres of Shīnā poetry or literature.
We have ghazal, we have geet, we have nagma, we have haiku type of things, which we in Shīnā we call, those are, you know, se misra, cho misra, and many, and it's uniqueness of Shīnā that some of its geets, those have 11 lines only in one stanza, what's in Urdu what is called a band.
Yeah.
Each band has 11 lines.
Having the same rhythmic balance.
Yeah, balance, same rhythmic balance, and tunes for those as well. So it's beauty.
And which different genre of music is used in Shīnā to express Shīnā language?
Now people are even, our singers, our musicians, they use modern equipment as well, like orchestra, electric organs, electric guitar, sometimes saxophone and pipes, etc. But I believe that our people appreciate traditional instruments more.
Like sitar,
flute, surnai, shehnai, and our local drum. That's a bit different from drums being played in subcontinent, and with the small set of smaller drums, which is called damal. So with combination of the bigger one and the small pair of drums, they create beats.
So, Zafar Sahab, can you tell us a bit more about the culture? Because I've heard that Shīnā is very beautiful. The language itself is the language of fairies. That's and people can actually talk to divine powers maybe. And in the mountains itself, there's so much serenity. So, what's the area like and what's the culture of Shīnā people?
Gilgit-Baltistan, I can claim that has all different seasons, and the topography as well. When you go to Skardu, you will find deserts as well. You will find high mountains, snow peaks. You will find lush green valleys. You will find high plateaus and pastures. The mountain-locked area, it has, as you said, that more than 7 languages are being spoken over there, and speakers of each language, they have come from different origins, different civilizations, so they carry different cultures as well. Although with the passage of time, with frequent interaction between the communities, some sort of homogeneous type of culture has also evolved at the same time. But Shīnā, in its culture, it was very much unique. Many of the things, we have done away with the passage of time. There were festivals like Ganoni, Bipao, sharp, and as you referred, we had dayals. Dayal was basically, you know, the people who speaks to fairies and narrates stories about future as well. So there were many different things.
So what's the feedback from the youth now? Are they keeping the traditions or they have forgotten about it?
I believe that our youth is very much concerned, very much committed to their culture. Most of them, they interact with me, they write to me, they send me messages which you know narrates that they love me because I love their culture. They love me because I love their culture. So it means that our youth is, you know, our youth appreciates people who work for promotion, research in their cultural activities, who contribute to their culture. So I'm quite very much hopeful about my youth.
Only recently in Karakoram University there was this literature festival where Lok Virsa also participated, and you were an active part of it, and I'm really proud of the youth of GB because they are the forefront workers of that festival. What happened in that festival?
That festival was basically brainchild of Dr. Kazim Niaz Sahab, our Chief Secretary, and as I mentioned that he wanted us to come up with some sort of concrete proposal for establishing of this Regional Languages Academy, and for this very purpose he suggested us to, you know, gather intellectuals from all over the country who are working for promotion research in regional languages, in Pakistani languages. So we invited you know, scholars and intellectuals from Sindh, Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Punjab, Federal Capital, and we are quite, you know, grateful to those intellectuals. They came all the way to Gilgit State. Yeah, that was very first ever festival. Some 20 plus delegates from the down country came to the mountains. You know, they shared their views, their experiences. They even shared their PowerPoint presentations with our youth who were sitting in Karakoram University hall.
Because you're trying to set up a separate institution of language preservation there?
Yeah. So basic objective of this 2 days festival was to collect information how these academies and institutions, including Lok Virsa, are working. So we could learn from their experience. We could, you know, gain something from their success stories. So we are quite grateful that they shared their constitution, organogram, their TORs, their achievements, and the issues which they are facing, so that we could avoid those issues through formulating a better constitution, better TORs for our Regional Languages Academy.
So talking of literature, how about you recite something for us?
Sure, ji. Thay muhabbatir qazai the, nimazi the, duai the. Thay muhabbatir qazai the, nimazi the, duai the. वली बो के टॉपिक असिल बेफर भी के सुचाए थे, वली बो के टॉपिक असिल बेफर भी के सुचाए थे, बस तू एक ही दास्तानी हन थे हुस्न बयानी हन, मैं मौर्य में चगाए थे, मैं गज़ली में गाए थे, जगो निकु में ताम नेवेश तोमकारे छुप गी चुकी बो, असे रुनाली ने परुच असे गिलोट गराए थे, असे गिलोट गराए थे, असे हिसाब किताब थे नन जग से उबाल सवाब थे नन, असे हिसाब किताब थे जग से उबाल सवाब थे अलबेतो खस पिगेला बुटे सको खुदाए थे, बुटे सको खुदाए थे, बिजार बे तस बे बेहनुस दुनिया ते जो मपई हनुस तुलो जो हन्नी जग से माँ अकोट अकोट ट्रकाए थे, ए चो तो शनी जमुस जफ़र दयल फरी जमुस थे गम गहें शियारी मई थे याद मई बराए थे. Thank you.
Would you like to translate it for our audience?
Oh, it's very difficult, you know.
Just the gist of
because when you translate something, that loses its original charm.
I agree, but maybe the main concept or idea.
I'll try. That, you know, people around me try to judge me like God. They want to assess my good deeds, my bad deeds, and they have made their own criteria to judge me, which is not fair to me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming to our studios. It was great having you and talking to you about Shina language.
My pleasure. Thanks to you and Lok Virsa that you gave us this opportunity to share, our language and efforts being done for its preservation with you people and your audience. Thank you.
Zafar Waqar Taj undoubtedly has done great work for preservation of Shina language. There are other activists as well who have been contributing a lot towards this cause. One of them is Jahanzaib Murad, who is actually an environmentalist and works for the energy sector, but is also one of the key contributors and pioneers of people who set up GB Folks. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you very much.
So what is this project GB Folks? Is this a band or a cause? How did you start it? And you said that you were not alone in this. There were other people as well who couldn't come today. But tell us a bit about the history.
Yes, basically we are still confused what to be called specifically, because our kind of activities are so diverse and we are trying to catch up with everything. With the fundamental affiliation is our affiliation with GB and its folk culture and music. So while pursuing all that, we are trying to fit in ourselves in some kind of definition, but we are still struggling, and this GB Folks is again an evolved phenomena which was actually initiated by professionals based in Islamabad. And as you know that there's it's a unique tendency in people of Gilgit-Baltistan that they specifically love with their music and wherever they are based. So whenever they find some people coming, some artists or some poets or some scholars coming to their towns, they just informally get together and try to spare time and enjoy the events and gatherings and all that. So this used to happen for quite a long time in Islamabad. Islamabad being close to Gilgit, so and then poets and musicians and others used to come, more oftenly to Islamabad, and they used to gather. But 3 years ago, the people who were involved in GB Folks tried to make it a formal, like this kind of gatherings into a formal gathering, where we started doing some kind of recordings and also intimating people about what we are trying to do, and selecting those who are more towards this contribution, and not neglecting those who are interested. So with that concept, we initially started this forum. At that time it was just a forum which was based on the activities limited to their private houses. Whenever the singers, whenever the musicians, poets used to come, we used to get together in houses, in private houses, sometime in my house, sometime my colleague, the originator of this event, Safdar Khan, at his place mostly. So we used to get together there, and then we used to put our videos to the social media. And then there was a lot of demand, or a kind of interest from the people that this should come out of the houses and it should be a common place where others can also join. So then we did that, and we also arranged a couple of events here in this hall or some other halls in Lok Virsa and others in the town. So then that kept on going, and for last 1.5 years it has almost formalized. Although we don't have a registered organization, we don't have a permanent source of income. It's basically those professionals contributing out of their own pockets for making these events. But while doing so, we actually been successful in organizing bigger, larger events in Islamabad. Like last year we did a launching book launch, a album launching, and a specific program on Zafar Waqar's contribution in PNCA, in which we invited the cabinet of Gilgit-Baltistan, the whole cabinet of Gilgit-Baltistan, and on relevant scholars from all over Pakistan. So and that was focused on the contributions of not only Zafar but also the other peoples, and then that activity was very successful. And another activity we organized in Gilgit in last summers. in district Gizr, Gilgit, where we invited, according to some people, it is the largest gathering. It was the largest gathering in the history of Gilgit-Baltistan, where people gathered for this kind of cause.
From all over Gilgit-Baltistan.
Yeah, all over Gilgit-Baltistan. It was basically not only in Shina, it was in Shina and Waqar. Actually, we selected a place, a location which we call in Gizr, which is just a transition from Shina to Waqar language. So there we gathered both Shina speakers and Waqar speakers from Chitral and Gilgit-Baltistan. So it was a huge gathering, and then that thing, we have a complete set of equipments for recording those events, and then we put this simply on the social media, and we have a website where we just put that, and it's downloadable website, so it's not a profit organization, it's just a voluntary work, so everybody can have access. Even some people have changed our GB folks, this logo into their own logo. We have no issues even on that. So it's basically some kind of formalizing process, which is still going on. But by now, what we have finalized is that we are going to organize such events, especially between the languages, like Shina versus Waqar, Shina versus Burishuski, Shina versus Waqi, and so others, Shina versus Balti. So we are trying to, bridge between different.
In all these gatherings, you create new form of music, or you play the traditional form of compositions that are already existing?
Yeah, we actually don't form any music. We just facilitate the ideas from the people, from the artists, from the scholars, and we actually try to work with them. We try to pick great ideas, and we actually try to support that. So it depends on what idea. So for now, what we've done is we have picked this idea of bridging between the languages, like meshing up to different languages. Like so far we've done this Shina versus Waqar.
So all the work that gets created is original work?
Yeah, basically we have in our group membership there are musicians like Mir Afzal, the guitarist, we have singers like Jabir Khan, we have others, Zafar Waqar is part of our team informally, and he's a poet, so we have so many others, so all of them are contributing, and they are contributing with their own genuine work.
And which musical instruments you have been using so far?
We are using those traditional instruments, like we have drum, we have sitar, we have flute, we have damal, we have all those.
But you also mentioned guitar.
Yeah.
So it's a fusion of.
Yeah, no, not sitar. It's sitar actually. It's not guitar. So far we're not using. But there are some people who are trying to use this guitar as well. And in some of our recordings, we try to use some tunes of different other parts. Like when we go for recording in Peshawar, we get some inspiration from Pashtun, kind of things. But definitely it's basically focused on the local music and the cultural music, so musical instruments. Although it has a relationship with other neighbors.
Yeah, that's the beauty of music, that it's so fluid in its nature, it easily gels in with other music from other parts, or even different types of genres can also be gelled together.
Yeah.
So what different genres are there in GB? Forms of music?
Basically, you see, in that terms, GB has been rich and unique in music. If you just recall the events in GB, there are most of the events on music. So this is something which we can sell to everybody.
And so people of GB love to dance.
Dance and music and music, and the reason behind that is basically. Music has been part of the very core culture of the mountain communities. And the music of Gilgit-Baltistan is unique because the environment of that area is unique, the climate is unique. And the music of Gilgit-Baltistan has evolved through the geographical climatic conditions. So that's why it is unique. And the region of Gilgit-Baltistan is also climatically unique because it's basically a buffer between the South Asia and Central Asia. So as an environmentalist by education, what I call is it's a transition between these two regions. So and that's why that's purely
And it's
unique.
also influenced by the cultures of both
Surroundings.
regions, yeah.
For example, we have got this duff, we have got jigini. This is thought to be called brought from the Central Asian states. So previously, of course, there were no roads, but there were people traveling in those regions. So they used to get inspired or inspire the people in the region. So there's a lot of potential in Gilgit-Baltistan, which is basically surrounding different areas like Central Asia, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and other regions. So it has a very a lot of potential to bridge between those regions. So we are also, as from the GB folks, we are trying to request the government of Pakistan and Tajikistan to arrange such an event where we can do this meshing up with
Cross-cultural
Tajikistan.
exchange, yeah.
So we are trying to do that. We're trying to write. I know we had some discussions earlier, so we are trying to do that as well.
So Jahanzaib, in the Bazm of GB folks, a lot of beautiful compositions are created, and I will play one such composition for my audience. Friends, let's watch a beautiful symphony created by GB folks, and it was actually performed at Lok Vista Studios. This was a very unique composition. It was beautiful in its essence, but I could see there were spaces and tunes that were very different from music of other regions of Pakistan.
That's true, but it's also, see, it's a mix of Shina and Waqar. Shina and Waqar are two different languages, but you see the music is more or less common. The instrument is more or less common. So the reason behind is basically the climatic conditions. So if you look at that perspective, regardless of 7 languages or how many languages are spoken in that region, the influence of music is same, which is driven by the climate. So when you see a change in music is when there is a change in climate conditions. So it suddenly changes when it goes to the plain areas.
You were also mentioning that these are not compositions, these are tunes and there are different levels of it.
So I mean, if you have to understand the folk culture of Gilgit-Baltistan, you have to understand the tunes of Gilgit-Baltistan. That will actually invite you to understand the very essence of the culture. Like we have dhanis, we have categories of tunes, you know, it's not just one tune, it's a category. We have dhanis, we have like what you call it, bula, we have, you call it dayal, you have, so there are different categories. It's not one, like in dhani, in the past, the dhani used to be a group or a tune which was assigned to a certain tribe based on their some performance in the past. For example, during the battle, during the war, or during any other collective work, if someone from some tribe is doing something, that used to be put, that praise used to be put in a poem first, and that poem was put into a tune, and that tune has to be unique for that tribe. So then on, that tribe is symbolically adopting that tune, and for all their events, like in marriages, like any other things, the tribe will be called with that tune, and the people of that tribe will learn how to dance in that tune. So every tribe has a different unique tune in past, and that is one. And similarly, we have set of tunes for bitans. Bitan is a shaman, you know, the concept of shamans is very much there in Gilgit-Baltistan. So that's a set of tune for the whole shaman activity, which is a long activity, like 2, 3, 4 hours activity. So for each stage, there is a different tune till the end of the process. And similarly for the bula, there is a set of tunes, bula, which is for the polo. So that is also a combination of tunes in which the tunes are not only for the players but also for the horses. Like at different stage of the polo game, it's the polo of Gilgit-Baltistan, the freestyle Gilgit-Baltistan Chatral is very popular. At each stage of the game, there used to be a different set of tune, and on which the horses were trained. Like if there is a pressure on the team, there has to be a different tune where the horse is going to be, aggressive, or the horse has to be calmed down. So the tune will actually guide the horse.
Okay.
So that is a folk essence of the music. So to learn, what I call is to learn the folk essence of Gilgit-Baltistan, you have to learn the tunes of Gilgit-Baltistan.
Yeah. And what other rituals or festivals happen in Gilgit-Baltistan?
So when you see that, when you go on from that, so all these things ultimately turned into festivals, and those festivals into rituals as well. So most of those rituals, I mean, with the religion, so the set of rituals, some of the rituals changed, but some remained with the local conditions. For example, and those the rituals and the climatic conditions are closely linked, and those climatic conditions and tunes are equally linked. So for different events, we have different tunes, and those events are related to, like Ganoni is one where we have which is done at the time of crop being prepared, and we have different situation. I mean, those all are linked with the climatic changes, because the communities of mountains were closely linked with the climatic conditions.
Are you talking about the natural climatic changes or the artificial ones that are happening now because as a
the
result
climate
of global
change
warming?
is something different.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is the climatic
That
conditions,
as we
the geography,
move
the
from
environment.
one-
Because there were like as you know, there are 4 different seasons, and people were only dependent on the nature, on the productivity of nature, and at different stage, like there were customary laws which used to govern the whole region, not the government or other things was existing in the history. It was the people who were actually dependent on that set of climate, and they were caring about that climate because that was actually the source of livelihood there. So for different seasons, they had a very, very clear understanding of the requirements of, for example, there is a set of customary laws which is actually governing the people how to behave with the environment. For example, grazing is allowed only in certain areas in certain times. Grazing is not allowed in certain seasons, because that is a season when you do the grazing, there will be no productivity of that land. And similarly, there is a season, there's a rainfall season. There is a set pattern which is actually ensuring the livelihood of the people. So even there are songs which are related to the conservation of nature. Like if I could translate, there is one folk song which is on the protection of the ibex, and that used to be that category of song is called lolo. Lolo is something like touchy for the, if you know about this Japanese style tunes, which is so touchy for the children, and that was deeply rooted. And then mothers used to say that tune to the babies and kids for
like
telling the whole story.
Yeah.
That that folk story is called about the ibex is basically is the story how ibex has kids, and how a hunter is coming and how it's killing, and how their kids are dispersed, and there is no mercy on that, and that's harsh environment. And so they were trying to sensitize people on the importance of those biodiversity or that animals around that mountains. So that is basically that's why we're saying that the culture of Gilgit-Baltistan is unique, which needs an indigenous research. We still lack that research. We're trying to understand it, but even the people who are the old, the elders know about this thing, but they cannot link with these contemporary concepts. So from the GB Folks Forum, we are also trying to
connect
link
youth with the old.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming to our studios, Jahanzaib.
Thank you very much.
Friends, you saw that from a small buzzing happening in a small house, how formalized and institutional efforts turn into larger causes for preservation of traditions and cultures. And GB Folks and the youth connected to it are undoubtedly working towards this cause. Before we leave, we'll play a beautiful clipping of one of the Bazm of GB Folks from Hopper Gizir, where a lot of musicians are performing, then people are dancing, and I'm sure you'll love it. Keep watching Folk Beats every Sunday on PTV World. Goodbye.